you learn just as much, if not more, with the people who you hate working with as with the people you do like working with. Because when you work with people that you don't like or you don't necessarily get along with, that teaches yourself more about you and what you
Hmm.
prefer over what you don't prefer.
Welcome to the second episode of Behind the Credits with our honorary guest, Chace Little. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Tell a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, I feel like majority of people my age, 23 to 25. I'm currently home with my parents because
Hmm.
of the pandemic, unfortunately. But what I was on course to do and what I plan to do in May, basically whenever I get vaccinated, is head back out west to Los Angeles, where I plan to start my television and film career.
Wow. What made you make that decision?
Well, which one? Moving out west or picking television production?
Picking television. Like, how did you start getting into film?
Yeah. Actually, this is gonna sound kind of like not sad, but this is gonna sound like just so like I can swear, right?
Yeah, of course. Cuss all you want.
Okay. It's gonna sound like half-assed, but I just want to make sure. It's gonna sound
Okay.
half-assed, but basically, let me start from the beginning. So, senior year of high school, had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, just like I feel
Hmm.
like majority of people at 18. So I was like, all right, I don't even want to go to college. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna start working out of high school, blah blah blah. So my parents were like, oh, you don't want to go to college, so what are you gonna do? And I just remember having this like sit down conversation with them, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And they were like, all right, well, you should definitely like take up some sort of education. If it's not a 4 year
Hmm.
school, at least go to community college first. So I was like, all
Yeah.
right, fuck it, whatever, I'll go do that. So I enrolled at Bristol Community College, which is based out of Massachusetts, because I
Hmm.
knew that if I was eventually going to transfer to a 4 year school, I was not going to go to URI or some Rhode Island based college.
Got it.
So I figured I would go to community college in Massachusetts. That way it would broaden my horizons and give me more opportunities.
Hmm.
So skip the 2 years of community college. Super boring. Super like, I'm staying home. I'm not going out doing all the partying, all that shit. I'm just
Hmm.
getting my courses done, working part time as a pizza delivery man, and saving
Yeah.
up my money and hope to eventually get into a good school, which I did. I then eventually got into Emerson College, which is based out of Boston,
Got it.
and um, so basically, what influenced me? So
Yeah.
while at community college, I had this professor, Professor Ricardo. I had him for 3 straight semesters, and he only taught television and film and classes based around that. So I took them for fun because I needed like extracurriculars to fill up my associate's degree credits. So I took film one, and it was like a shits and giggles kind of class. Just
Yeah.
it's a
Just
community
do what
college
you do.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just to take up time and to get credits. But eventually, I ended up taking some film critic classes with him, and then I took a television production course with him. And
Hmm.
during my last semester at community college, I remember having a sit down conversation with him just out of my own time. I went during his office hours, and I was just like, I think I want to pursue this. And then he was like, oh, well, like, here's a list of colleges, like yada, yada, yada. You are going to want to apply with this, this, and that for an even better opportunity. So basically, I spent a couple of weeks doing some extra credit assignments for him that he thought would format into a college application well. And then I got into Emerson, and I kind of just said yes and then went there. And I remember getting to Emerson, and I didn't know whether I wanted to do film or TV because they are
Okay.
production wise on a physical scale, they are essentially the same thing. You know what I mean? You're working with the same type of
Hmm.
equipment. You're, following orders from the same type of higher ups. Same sort of like I don't know how to say it. Like same sort of communication. You know what I mean? Same sort of vibe. But it's
Yes.
just about at the end of the day what type of projects you'd want to work on. Because obviously, they're structured differently in their form, but comparing a film to a TV show. But anyways, so I spent my first two because I spent a total of 4 semesters at Emerson because I
Got it.
transferred as a junior. So I spent my first 2 semesters dabbling in both film and TV, and then my senior year of college, honestly, the only reason I really went to Emerson was because I knew they had a good film program, but I also knew that they had a very interesting Los Angeles exchange program. So that was my ultimate
Wow.
goal, was just to spend my final semester at Emerson in Los Angeles so I could, be like right directly in the industry and just see what it's like to live there. Because that is the film capital of the country and one of the film capitals of the world. So I just knew that I would eventually have to end up there or associate with people that were from there at some point in my life.
Yeah.
So I got into the program and I spent my last semester of college out there, which was spring 2019, where I had a full-time internship on Hollywood Boulevard. And
Wow.
it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. It wasn't film or television based, but it was actually PR based. It was this company called
Okay.
Press Pass LA. And essentially they do red carpet events. They represent people who want to have art galleries, just like things in the art scene where they can like publicize whatever figure wants to get exposure, essentially.
Got it.
So that includes, holding photography events, holding PR events, holding interviews, going on red carpets, just things like that. I don't know. Is that a good
So
explanation?
I do have a question about. So a lot of times people want to do these internships, want to like be part of the industry. So the big step really is getting into it. Is like getting those connections, meeting people. So how did you get your internship?
So it's funny enough that you say that, meeting people. I got my internship through a person that I met through college. So
Oh,
this kid, Kevin, I don't know if he wants me to use his name, but Kevin. So Kevin was my orientation leader right when I transferred to Emerson.
got it.
So basically, the first week of school, you show up a week before classes start. They give you a tour of the campus, give you a tour of classrooms, like a rundown of what your 2 years is going to look like after transferring. And Kevin was my orientation leader. So he was the person who was taking me through those tours, showing me what kind of classes I would want to take. And just through my 3 previous semesters at Emerson, I got to know him better. We hung out outside of school, outside of our orientations. And then he actually ended up doing the same program that I did the semester before I did it. So,
Wow.
and he had the same exact internship. He had a good time doing it, and he only had good things to say about it. So, I don't get me wrong. I applied to dozens and dozens of internships before I settled on Press Pass. Not to say Press Pass is my last option by any means.
Yeah.
But Kevin basically put my resume through faster than anyone else's because he had direct correlation with the person who ran the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was honestly one of the sole reasons I got the internship. One thing, let me put that in now. That is one thing about like the entertainment industry in whole. Like out of my 2 years out or attending Emerson, like the number one thing I learned is it's all about, all right, obviously not all, but majority of it is about who you know, not what you know.
Oh, wow.
So like there are so many people who genuinely don't know what they're doing out in Hollywood, but they just know they know the producer, they know the director, they know this person who's doing all the hirings and castings, and that's how they get their jobs.
Wow. Can you like
I'm not trying
elaborate
to
on that?
expose the industry. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly what we want to do. It's all about exposure. So, at this internship, what was your day-to-day operations? If you're allowed to tell me, of course. But what is your actual
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, so like I said, this isn't what I want to do when I get back out there, but basically it was different every day. So some days I was on an Excel sheet and I was, typing in phone numbers for these people that we want to interview and people that we want to get in contact with that we're going to eventually set up a business deal with for this thing, that thing. Sometimes on a Friday night, I would be seen, or I was given a camera by the company and they were like, hey, just do or photograph these specific people at these specific galleries and just literally stay by their side for a couple hours and just take whatever photos they want to take.
Got it.
Sometimes it was me just sitting 8 hours in a room, like at a desk on Lightroom, Adobe, and just editing photos. So, I mean, it was different. And then sometimes it was going out with Jen, who is the CEO of Press Pass LA. And she would just give me like little assignments to do. Cause ultimately, like, the way that, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, just going to Emerson and seeing, the other people, because So one of the things that we did as part of the LA experiences, we all had to take an internship course. So that means that like 15 or 20 of us would be in the same classroom, and we essentially just discuss what we did that week within our internships. Because it was
Got
an
it.
internship driven program. It was mandatory to obtain an internship to be part of the program.
Hmm.
So no internship, no program, essentially. So what a lot of other people did with me was they would just sit in these offices with these really high up people, and they basically just observe what they did and do whatever they asked. Like
Okay.
70% of internships, you were just someone's bitch, is basically what it was. But the thing is, through all the bitch work you do, you see what like actual work is like. Like you see what the work
Hmm.
environment's like, you see what the people, the clients are like that you're going to work with in the future. And the most important thing, arguably, is you get this person's connection, and you get another phone number in your phone.
Got it.
So whether it's you're looking for work, you're looking for a recommendation, you're looking for someone to write a letter about you, a letter of recommendation, whatever it is, you have their number in your phone, and you've done work for them, and you're building your own resume at the same time.
Okay.
So what
That's
was
a
the original
lot.
question? Did I know it's a lot.
No, that was a really, really good answer. I was wondering about what's your perspective on that work environment? Like, how did you see it after you experienced it?
Yeah. So Um, I mean, I will say one thing, and I feel like this goes with like every job. Like, it's not all the glamour that people think it is. There are definitely days where you're sitting inside and you're like burning up and uncomfortably sweating in that room with all these people, and you're doing just
Hmm.
like computer work, and you're just like, all right, like this is not, like explosions and tons of celebrities everywhere, and just like what people think Hollywood is and what it's advertised to be. But then there's sometimes where it is like that, and you're actually on scene and you're actually seeing celebrities, and you're like, holy shit, like I'm actually part of this bubble right now. But
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. My overall thoughts on like the industry as a whole, like I said, this is just a one internship experience,
Yeah.
and not necessarily at like a grade A company. Like we're not dealing with like A-list celebrities 24/7 or whatever, or constantly on a runway. There are definitely like times where it's just like I said, time in an office where you're just doing like busy work, like you know, at any other job. But there's definitely, let's put it this way. If I knew what I did now, or I probably wouldn't have gone. Well, I don't know. Sorry, I'm like thinking on the fly here. I was gonna say that I
Yeah, of
probably
course.
wouldn't have even gone to Emerson or college in general, because essentially you don't really have to go to college to get a job in the film industry. Some
Okay.
people at 18 years old, they literally graduate high school and they just send it out west, and they just pick up production assistant work, and then through that they work their way up through the ladder, and then they just eventually start landing jobs. Because like I said, it's not really about what you know. Obviously, having a genuine like tool belt of things to know, in like whether it's knowing how to set up a stand, or you're good with lighting, or whatever it is, like it's good to have those hard skills. But at the end of the day, like someone has to do the hirings, and if someone knows your name, whether they know you personally or they were recommended to you by somebody who they trust, like you will get that job over someone else, just because their like resume looks good. If someone can trust somebody, they're going to take that
Okay.
trust over hiring someone who they have no idea who they are.
So do you think then that reputation and communication skills are absolutely necessary for the film industry?
So it definitely depends what you want to do. So when it comes to like production, I mean, all right. So realistically, unless you do know, like that next up and coming director and you're buddy buddy with them, you're going to be
Hmm.
working at the bottom of the totem pole, and you're going to start there. So it also depends what you want to do. If you're trying to do editing, obviously that's a completely different process, because you're doing freelance work, and then communication skills would matter, right? Because you need
Yeah.
to advertise yourself to get work. You got to be posting stuff on social media like, hey, this is my project I did, and so liked it, or they rated it like this. I submitted to film festivals, blah, 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 blah. But then it comes things that I want to do. Like, I don't want to be behind a computer the rest of my life. I want to be
Okay.
physically doing stuff, whether that be building sets, directing, producing, holding a boom mic, being a boom mic operator, like whatever it is. I just want to have my name reeling in credits one day on a television production or film. Like, I want to be able to
Yes.
go into a movie theater one day and just say, like, oh shit, there's my name for 1.5 seconds scrolling up the screen. But no, communication skills, I feel like in most job sets or job settings are crucial. You know what I mean? Whether it's
Yeah.
expressing how you feel or just being able to put your personality out there, because that is one of the big things about working on a film set is, or just television set, whatever it is. When you're working with people physically in any setting is morale. Like, you want to be surrounded by people who want to do a good job and by people who want to uplift each other. Nobody wants to voluntarily sign up for a set or just any job where they have to work with an asshole. Like, no one would want to do that. You know that the experience is going to be worse. Why would you want to voluntarily sign up for that? Obviously, there are some people who are just going to be shitty and you're not going to get along with. Like, even in my short college experience at Emerson, there were definitely sets where I did not fuck with people. And that concluded with me walking off sets and just leaving jobs entirely.
Oh, but, really?
Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, very rare. It only happened twice, and it was actually the same director both times.
Damn. Well, what happened? Am I allowed to ask, or?
All right. No, yeah, of course. It's like the most amateur, like, college film set shit ever. Okay. Like, it doesn't even matter. But no, long story short, and it's funny because this kid, I'll just call him Bob, because I don't want to use his real name, because we're actually really good friends now. But this is what I mean. Like, this is someone who I took at face level. Like, I didn't know anything about him, and I just knew that he was the director, so I was going to have to listen to him. And basically, our tempers just got shorted because we kept going back and forth because he wanted it one way and I wanted it the other. And at the end of the day, like, this is just speaking at a college level. Like, we were both amateurs. Like, we were in college for a reason. There was a reason why we weren't already out in LA killing it, having, like, you know, an 8-figure deal with fucking Sony or something. Like, we're both in college, learning and shooting shit together. But no, essentially what caused it was just, like, things didn't go his way, and he blamed it on me. And then I was like, bruh, this is not just a me thing. Like, there are multiple people behind this camera right now. I don't know. It was just, like, short temperament and just, like, bad personality, or just, like, bad headspaces combining, and it just made it a shit show overall.
Okay. It takes a lot of bravery just to step away from a project, though. A lot of people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I wouldn't call it brave, or at least from my perspective, it's not brave as much as, like, fuck this person, I'm not wasting my time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because you gotta understand with anything you do, like, it's at the end of the day, especially during college, like, going to a private university like Emerson, like, it costs a fucking arm and a leg to go there. So I'm gonna spend my time as if I'm spending my money, because I am literally spending my money to be here. So I'm not gonna waste my time with someone who's just gonna stress me out and, like, make me feel lesser when I'm trying to learn more and stuff like that. But at the same time, you learn just as much, if not more, with the people who you hate working with as with the people you do like working with. Because when you work with people that you don't like or you don't necessarily get along with, that teaches yourself more about you and what you prefer over what you don't prefer. Because when you start out in the industry, you obviously can't be picky. Beggars can't be choosers. You have to take jobs and you have to build a resume somehow. But as you do get older and as you do work up that totem pole, you will get to choose those jobs, because if you want to move up, you have to take jobs that are higher up. Like, it's that simple. You have to build your resume. You can sit at the bottom all you want and be a production assistant, but, like, do you really want to work under someone's wing your entire life? Like, no. You want to pick a couple people who are good mentors and then just, you know, organically get better, bigger and better jobs as time goes on.
So I was curious about the experience at Emerson, because I saw a few of the stuff that you guys have made, like the sitcom where you guys did, let me find it, The Manor. It's a reality murder show.
Yep. I know.
Yeah. How was that experience?
It was cool. So that was me that was as a casting. Like, I was just someone in talent. That was kind of like a one-time thing, honestly. Not that I hate being in front of the camera or anything. Like, I honestly love being in front of the camera, but it's not what I went to school for. So that was a, what do you call it? So it was for an advanced television production class, and it was a final. So this class, essentially, it was my friend Phil, who also went to Emerson. they had to completely design a television show, just one episode for a final, and it was like basically
Wow.
80% of their class grade. So what they had to do was they had to write a script, formalize it, finalize it, or all that stuff. They had to assign a full cast. They had to design a full set, and then they had to, like complete a full episode to what would be like a seasonal television show. So
Okay.
in this example, I don't know if you watched the full episode, but
Yeah.
it was just like it was a game show essentially. So
Yes.
They at Emerson for a couple weeks they held casting calls where they would sit down talent and interview them and just like basically capture their personality and see if it's someone they would want on their show. And then based on the people who were also, because this wasn't just like a one-man band thing, like they split the class in half. It was like I think a 16 or 17 person class, so there were 8 people in each group. So like one person was the director, one person was the producer, one person was casting, one person was production coordinator, all that stuff.
Wow.
And then they all assembled into just creating one final project. So working on that, my friend Phil was producing. So he was like, yo, if you have nothing else to do this day, just come to our hiring. I will literally tell them that you're my best friend and I will get you a casting job. So I was like, once again, it comes back to who you know. Like I knew Phil. He knew that he needed talent. Obviously, this is for college. Once again, I'm saying like this is completely amateur, nothing professional. Yeah. But the fact that I knew Phil and that he needed someone, and I was like, yeah, sure, like I'm your man. And then I got the job. And then I was voted off first, so spoilers. But I was off first.
No, I saw it. I kind of like checked out after you wrote it off because I'm like, well, that's it then.
No, funny enough, I actually had a Childish Gambino concert to go to that night, so I wanted to get voted off first. So I kind of purposely threw, but. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I knew most of the people on the set, so I knew that it was going to be a good vibe. Just knew that things were going to go smoothly. So yeah, that was it. It was overall a great experience, and I'm glad that
jumping into music. How has music influenced your filmmaking? Because I saw a video where you talked about Kanye and how he's an icon, and you're obviously a huge fan. So how does that influence your process?
That was on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
That was like my video when my hair was short.
Yeah.
Dude, no one could ever see that video. All right, that was me. That was during community college. So that was a project that I did for Ricardo's class. But wait, sorry, say your question again. Music.
So I was wondering how like Kanye and other musical artists influence your filmmaking, like in any way.
Bro, I mean, music in general is just like, this sounds like so stereotypical or so like boring, but like, music is just like a huge part of my life. I don't know. It's gotten me through like bad times and good times, but I didn't really pick up listening to music until after senior year of high school. I saw that The Life of Pablo was coming out, which is a Kanye album. And obviously I'd read a shit ton of stuff. Like I've seen his interruption of Taylor Swift at the VMAs, and I saw his George Bush doesn't care about black people, like just absolutely radical statements in the media. And I like, obviously Kanye is like an icon in himself. Whether or not you agree with what he does in his own life is up to debate. I definitely don't agree with everything he does, but he's a fucking legend. So I was like, all right, well, let me like give his album a shot. And then obviously I knew his hits and all that, but basically The Life of Pablo is what really got me into listening to music. And then just from that point on, I broadened my horizons and listened to a lot of other types of music. But as for my like direct work, music hasn't really been a part of anything I've done yet, because obviously if I were to take a path of going down producing music videos or creating music videos or anything like that, which I do have friends who went to Emerson that do that full time. They run their own production companies and they solely focus on producing music videos.
Wow.
But for me, obviously I wouldn't decline work on a music video set or anything like that. Like if it pays, it pays. But I don't know. I have always, my dream job would be to be a camera operator on The Price is Right. That is my dream job.
So you want to do TV?
So So basically, I would want to do TV, but I would specifically want to work on The Price is Right. I don't know. I've always been obsessed with it growing up. It's just always been like a go-to like pick me up show to watch. Like everyone's always super happy on it, and I actually went on the show twice. I was
What?
out for LA, not like as a contestant, not as a contestant. I was in the audience though. So how a lot of those television networks work, like just
Mm-hmm.
specifically speaking for television networks like CBS, all the late night talk show hosts, all those tickets are free. You don't have to pay for any of that stuff. You just need to reserve your seats in time.
Okay.
So, like you can go on any episode of Jimmy Fallon or Seth Meyers or wherever you want, but like tickets are booked like months in advance. Same with Ellen, same with Oprah when she had her own talk show. Those tickets are all for the general public, but you just need to reserve them in time. Especially shows like Ellen, who like gives shit away to their audience members. Like obviously people are gonna want in on that.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah. So I was like, so I and sorry, I'm like completely just digging down a rabbit hole right now.
No, I love it. I love it.
So a big thing that was a part of my like, what do I say? Like my personal tool belt was LinkedIn. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a very slept on app in general because obviously it seems like super cliche and cheesy. Like it's just another place to post your resume and like look professional. But I used it as a communication tool. So I would, my days that I had absolutely nothing going on, I would just go on LinkedIn and I would just search whether it was a specific production company, Emerson College, just like my general
Mm-hmm.
interests. And then I would just handpick people that looked interesting to me. So I started off with Emerson College because it was this college that I was at. So I knew that I would have something to talk about with this person. And I would just send so many people DMs like, hello, my name is Chace Little. I go to Emerson College, blah, blah. I'm out in Los Angeles right now for this amount of time period. And I would like to get coffee with you someday and just ask about your career. And that actually picked up with half a dozen people or so.
Wow.
I would meet them in public and just go get coffee with them and literally just like shoot the shit and just ask them super general questions. Or, if people were willing to tell me more about their personal experiences, I would, then delve deeper and ask them questions about a specific film set they were on or how they got their star or whatever it was. But just for me personally, just because I find myself to be more of a people person, I like to talk. I like
Mm-hmm.
to just, get people's perspectives on things. And ultimately, like I already told you, like the biggest, like, eureka moment that I had in college was holy shit, like there are so many stupid people out there doing things that I want to do, but they just knew the right person or they were in the right place at the right time and they got lucky. Like that. So one of my professors, Professor Lee at Emerson, he told me there are 4 burners in life, or at least in the entertainment industry. So
Yeah.
there's hard work, there's who you know, there's what is it? So it's work ethic, who you know, setting, and
Yeah.
luck.
Got it.
So obviously 3 out of the 4 things you can control, but there's one thing that you can't, but those other 3 things influence it, and that is luck. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously luck, it is what it is. It either happens or it doesn't. But by having a good work ethic, by broadening your horizons and getting to know as many people as possible and just putting yourself in the right spot, you'll generate your own luck and you'll eventually get to where you want to be.
Wow. That was really, really good. That was super interesting.
Yeah. It stuck with me. That's like the only thing out of that class that stuck with me.
Yeah. So I was wondering about. I'm jumping back now in time. So you were an intern at the television AACS TV, and you worked at a 4 Deep Sports talk show. I was wondering about that
Yeah.
experience.
So that was during community college too. So basically, sorry, my phone went off. But basically, 4 Deep Sports was a co-op program that was
Mm-hmm.
through my community college. So how it worked was it was essentially kind of the same thing as Emerson's Los Angeles program, except the fact that I didn't go to Los Angeles. It was just a local thing. But basically, I would sign up for this course and I would get an internship. And then once every, 2 weeks, we would meet up in a group and we'd all talk about our individual internships. So
Okay.
I got this opportunity through BCC, through their career network. like an online job posting, and it was like looking for internships, or looking for interns, sorry, blah blah blah. And I saw that multiple kids that I knew from BCC had previously interned there, and they gave me positive reviews, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. So what that internship was, that was completely different. That was, I was partnered with, or I was interning with a very small based like local radio station, and
Mm-hmm.
they would put the spotlight on high school sports. So
Got it.
football, basketball, swimming, like just anything high school. But what we would do is every Saturday morning is we'd conduct a live radio show where we'd have these high school athletes, coaches, anyone around along the realm come in and just talk about their experience. And then we'd go over like all the statistics of that week. We'd go over all the scores and then show like highlight reels of, plays that were made, because there were also times where, so sorry, I'm like running in circles. So
That's
that was
perfect.
Saturdays. And then on Wednesdays, I would be in their studio and I would be editing down our interviews and stuff like that. Because obviously we had
Okay.
the audio portion where we would sit in the studio and interview them, and then we had the visual portion just showing us interviewing them.
Okay.
But then during playoff football, we would actually they had a film truck, and we would go on scene and we'd set up like 3 or 4 stationary cameras and just record the games. So it was a very like minimal internship, but it was definitely a good first step because it just showed me what it was like to be in a live radio environment, what it was like to
Mm-hmm.
broadcast things, like even if it was a high school sports football game. Just it gave me that first hands-on experience, what it was like to do something live and to have someone in my headset telling me what to do. And it just gave me like that first-hand experience and perspective, like, oh, okay, like this is super simple and I'm just manning like 1 or 2 cameras, but this will translate in the future into running dozens of cameras for an award show or something like that. Like
Yeah.
everything is speculative, and like hindsight's 2020, and you just need to start somewhere, and that was my start.
Okay. So I was curious, when did you learn editing and video picture editing? Because I'm realizing that you're going back to the computer a lot and redoing some of your projects. So where did you learn that?
Yeah, so where did I learn it? I mean, I dabbled in it in my free time. So before I declared, so my associate's degree is in communications. So my first
Mm-hmm.
year at BC, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. But I just knew that communications was a very general degree, blah blah blah. So I would spend a lot of time just like, I don't know, finding clips on YouTube or just like taking music videos and just like editing them just to see what I
Got
would do
it.
with them. I would never like publish the videos or put them on YouTube just because like they weren't serious projects for me. It was literally just like a way for me to practice on the tool and just like, I don't know, organically figure it out, because I feel like that's the best way to learn. Like it's pretty crazy, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your time like on
Yeah.
Twitch, just doing your own things, because you seem to love editing, or you seem like,
Yeah.
watching your specific edits, you seem like you have like a lot of layers on layers of edits. Like you must take a long time with your editing.
Yeah. It takes freaking forever.
Yeah, and that is why I don't like editing.
Oh.
It simply is a huge time
Yeah, it is. It's very
commitment.
huge.
But obviously, if it looks good, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And if it looks bad, it looks bad. And that's what I found out like very shortly into it, is like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be an editor. So how I learned was just in my own time. And then obviously as I took courses on it in community college, I would edit for class, where I would use Adobe Premiere. That's the like only software I really used. But
Yeah.
after community college, I kind of just figured out, I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. And then I really didn't, other than like very minimal photo edits, I really didn't do any editing at Emerson.
Okay. Okay. So you want to be the person holding the camera, you want to be a part of the production, and do you ever want to direct something, or are you just interested in TV?
So, honestly, that's a question that I'm still answering. So I don't really know. Like, I'm not someone who's like, oh, I like just want to be a destined boom mic operator. I want to be a director. Like, blah blah. Like, I don't really have a destination per se. I just like
Mm-hmm.
want to be in the industry. Period. Like
Got it.
I just want to like have some sort of career in the television or film industry or both. It doesn't matter. Cause I don't know, like I don't really have like there are so many kids that were at Emerson specifically that were so driven by like one piece of media they saw or one director's style or some shit like that. Like I'm not like that at all. Like literally I was like it was the summer before community college started for me and I was just binge watching Netflix one day and I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, I do this all the fucking time. Like all I do is fucking watch TV. Why don't I just like take classes on television? So
Yeah.
I started taking classes on television. That's ultimately what fueled my career path. Is I just realized, holy shit, I'm like one of the people of my generation who watches an unhealthy amount of TV. Why don't I just pursue it?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I did. But wait, what was your original question? I'm so bad.
It was I was pretty much asking, what do you want to do? What's your end goal? Like in
Oh,
film.
yeah. So yeah, like I was just saying, I don't really have an end goal. I kind of just want to get out there and just break into the industry and just see what I end up liking. Because like with editing, like I didn't realize how much I didn't like editing until I physically did it. So
Yeah.
until I physically am a production assistant or I work in a specific like just category on set, like whether it's doing sound or effects or directing or producing, like I'm not going to know these things until I physically do them. And I truly haven't done them yet because when I did move out to LA, I had to move back because of Corona. So I don't have too many things to talk about in terms of like actual professional sets. But really,
Yeah.
I'm just going into it with an open mind and just willing to do anything until I find out for sure that I don't like certain things. Then I will stop
That's
doing
good.
those.
So when you came in on my stream, you talked about quality versus quantity, and you really pushed quality. And
Mm-hmm.
what happened was I like rethought my content. Like if you've noticed, I stopped posting on TikTok and stuff, and it was
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like rethinking and now I'm gonna do more. Like I post every 3 or 4 days and make something that takes longer. And I was wondering and about your thoughts about the quality versus quantity relationship.
Yeah, so obviously, I'm just trying to think. I wish I prepared more for this. Like, I could definitely say more about quality versus quantity because everyone's take on that is different, right? Like some
Mm-hmm.
people, like look at TikTokers for example, or let's go
Yeah.
back to Vine, a simpler time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is a 6 second video, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
some people who made a whole career off of making 6 second videos, which is insane to think about. Just
Yeah.
as
And it's still happening technically.
exactly like, hey, like my name's Chase. Oh, like what do you do for a living? Oh, I make 6 second videos and make a living. Like that's crazy. But like there are some like vines that went absolutely massive and they took absolutely no effort at all. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
it's just like what people liked. And then there are some things like just take an example for like an Avengers film. Like how much editing or how much time went into that film? Like so much time.
Ridiculous.
But there's like a reason why that's like the highest grossing film of all time. And obviously it had so much hype around it because it was a Marvel film, blah blah blah, what have you. But like what I'm trying to say is things have reputations for a reason, or like people are driven towards specific types of media for reasons. Like you go on Vine or you go on TikTok because you want to watch something brainless, or you want to just like you just want to put your mind in cruise control and just like enjoy watching stuff that's going to make you laugh, or it's just enjoyable in general. But then you have like these filmmakers who take years upon years to make these films, like Avatar, like all the CGI that went into that took like
Yeah.
countless amounts of hours, but they made like a beautiful production. But then you
Yes.
go and you watch something like the Eric Andre show, which is literally just like fucking Eric Andre fucking around and just like beating the shit out of his PAs or getting naked on camera for views.
That's a
Like
lot of work. Yeah.
it is exactly. It's a lot of work in its own way. You know what I mean? Like in that lens, like you're focusing a lot. I mean, but then again, you're doing a shit ton of editing for that too. What I'm trying to say is like people can find success in the entertainment industry in a vast amount of ways, but the reason why I push quality over quantity so much is because I personally want to be remembered as someone who made a quality product over
Mm-hmm.
someone who made a bunch of half-ass projects, because at the end of the day, as long
Yes.
as you're being talked about by somebody and then that person talks about it to somebody else, like, you're doing something right. So whether it's
Yeah.
half-assed or you put all your heart into it, as long as it got someone to spread it to somebody else, then you did something right. Because I'm not trying to like denounce any content creator or anything like that, because obviously there are things that I thoroughly enjoy that took a lot less effort than something else that I would enjoy or wouldn't
Yes.
enjoy. But I don't know, and I think we're just living in an age, and this is only going to get worse. And by worse, I mean it's only going to get like the pressure's only going to build higher. Is we're living in an age where like making quality content is becoming more of the norm. Like, there are so many people
Yeah.
there that I think digest television, and they don't really understand how hard it is to make quality television. Like, editing takes a long time, and somebody who
Yeah.
doesn't know the first thing about editing is not gonna like passively know that, because they don't know what editing's like. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, that like fight between like Thor and the Hulk was so cool, but like in reality, those 15 seconds probably took 3 months for somebody to make. You know what I mean? But you
Yes.
just wouldn't know that because you're not an editor. So I don't know. Did that answer the question?
No, that was really good. You actually voiced a thought that I've had for a long time about quality, because I've always on YouTube, this is kind of referencing the previous podcast, but on YouTube, I've always enjoyed the most was the content that took the longest. Like, there's some channels that don't post for like 6 to 8 months, and they're building this like 7-hour review of a video game, like Joseph Anderson, for example. And it's so detailed, so nuanced, so much work and dedication in it. And I fucking love it. I've watched it like 10 times, and that's the type of content I would like to make. So you voiced the opinion of like, I want to make content that I'm proud of, that I'm willing to show. I like at the end of the day, if you're chasing views, you're fucked. That's how I think about it.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of these. Oh wait, what are you gonna say? Sorry.
No. I was gonna say, like, I think a way to better generalize it is quantity comes into play when it's on your own time, but quality comes into play when it comes to other people's time.
Yeah, that's very good.
So you can spend whatever amount of time you want making anything you want, but that is your choice to spend your time doing that. So you obviously are going to have to mess up over and over and over and over again, and that's going to just come from the quantity of things you make, how much time you're choosing to put into these specific things. But when it comes to other people's time and entertaining others, you don't want to show, all your scars, or you don't want to show what you're bad at. You hopefully spend all that time in your free time, catching up with things or getting better at those very specific little things that you need to get better at. So when it comes to showing other people your product, it looks good and they digest it in a way that you spent so much time making it digestible.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So this is a whole nother segue. I brought this up last podcast too, but I'm curious about your perspective on video games and its interactions with the film industry.
Oh boy, that's a general one.
Yeah.
So, just speak like the first thing that popped into my head was like the Warcraft movie. The one based around the World of Warcraft universe. Like that movie was just so bad. Like so many. I think the problem, well, not really a problem. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so you change things to a totally different topic. I'm also going to change things to a totally different topic.
Fair enough.
So my pandemic skill, while I've been trapped inside my house for the past 12 months, was learning the stock market. So
oh wow.
I took a couple of courses from people online, just like what a stock is, like all that bullshit, and then also like trading options and investing and how I can do it on my own time. But what that has taught me is I look at companies that I really like and I do like extensive amounts of research on them, because what you want to
Mm.
do as an investor is you want to know what you're investing in, obviously. So one of the companies that I found that I really like is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is this company that makes chips and processing units for things such as computers that run video games and that run artificial intelligence and things like that. But like, what's crazy is like through all my readings, both general and specific on companies, like we have only reached like the tip of the iceberg with video games, right? Like
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
say you can say that with any generation. Like obviously when Pong came out, that game was revolutionary. When Street Fighter came out, that game was revolutionary. When like
Hmm.
Halo came out, that game was revolutionary. Like we are just opening the can of worms that is virtual reality. Like that,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
virtual, like not only how we play video games, but it's gonna change like how we do a lot of things. Like I just feel like, I mean, it's different to talk about video games versus film production wise, but it's also different to talk about video games and movies versus how you digest them and how we're gonna physically watch them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought Sonic the Hedgehog was a really good movie. Like, that's a
Yeah, me
video
too.
game movie. But like, I don't like. Are you? Do you want? Or are you asking about like what I think about how they're made, or where I think it's going to go in the future
So
as
I
a whole, like, as a whole industry?
so my theory, this is my theory. I've heard it from another podcast, Play Watch Listen. They talk about video games and they're pretty nuanced and they have really educated and they're all in the industry of making video games. So they know a lot about it.
Mm.
But what they talked about was this convergence of video games and movies somewhat becoming the same thing. Like video games, because a lot of video games are now so cinematic and they're so story driven. I bring up the example all the time of like Red Dead Redemption 2. I played that
Mm.
game. It felt like an actual HBO show. Like I felt like I was
Yeah,
playing a show.
yeah. It felt
But
like Westworld.
yeah, it's like completely, it's crazy. But I feel like, what do you think about that convergence? Like that both worlds combining?
Um, I mean, I think it's a great thing personally because it
Yeah.
brings two things that I love together hand in hand, and I think a lot of people. So like, what's also interesting is it's pretty like unfathomable how different we as a world operate in entertainment, and so like both video games wise and um television and film wise. Like in America, we just do our priorities as an industry are so different than in like Asia, for example. Like
Hmm.
you go to like places like Japan where they are just like objectively more technologically advanced than we are. Like
Yeah.
they just are doing things differently at a different pace. Like I mean, I don't know. It's such like a general question to like answer because obviously I
Yeah.
think it's a really good thing, and I think technology in general, the whole like premise of it is to only get bigger and better. So
Yeah.
like as time goes on, video games are only going to look more clear and they're only going to become more physically developed, and you're only as a player of them are only going to become more like immersed in the experience. Like eventually, I don't know if we're going to see this in our lifetime, but like these movies like Ready Player One or Gamer, like
Hmm.
you are eventually going to become the video game, which is both like exciting and scary in itself, but it's only
Yeah.
inevitable. You know what I mean? Like there's pretty soon, why would we be sitting in a chair or why would we be holding remote controllers if we can just be the controller?
Yeah.
Like,
That's so true.
you know what I mean? I feel like we're on some like Joe Rogan shit. But like I don't know.
Yeah, let's get high and let's talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's what the industry is. It's like a high moment. Like eventually we're just going to become part of the thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a really good thing though. I just hope that we live long enough to see ourselves become
Hmm.
part of these productions. And like that'll be interesting, and I think that'll really shape the industry. Is like, okay, once we have the ability to deliver products to people that put people in this realm themselves, like how are we, like I don't know. It will. All right, well, going backwards to what we already talked about.
Yes, yes.
because one of the classes that I took at Emerson during my Los Angeles semester was just purely based around streaming services. That's all the class was about. Just
Oh
Netflix.
wow, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
just yeah, it was really cool. Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon specifically, and just how like the film industry in general is really monopolized by a few companies. Like
Yeah.
Disney holds so much power over everything, like in
Hmm.
the entertainment industry. Like I don't know if you knew this. Disney owns ESPN. Disney owns Hulu. Like
Jesus Christ.
they obviously own they have their own streaming service now, Disney Plus, which is home to Marvel, which is home to Star Wars. Like they own these exclusive rights to all these huge franchises and other television network or just other networks in general. And it's just like I don't know. And then you have companies like Netflix who by a landslide are dominating the streaming industry, but that's only going to tighten more and more. Like Disney Plus is like or has already accumulated over 100 million active users, and their streaming service
Jesus.
has been around for what is it, 16 months?
Like
Like
no, it hasn't just came out.
yeah, and yeah, then you look at Netflix, which has been a company since the late 90s. You know, back then they were shipping DVDs and stuff like that, but like and they're like a very heavy grassroots company, but like Disney, like all it takes is for like a huge face like Disney. Obviously, they've been making movies and they've been making television shows for decades, but they just have like a core following that they could just release some product like Disney Plus and they're gonna immediately get a huge bandwagon just because they have that identity in the space.
Hmm.
But it's crazy because like we talk about quantity versus quality and look at Netflix. Like obviously they have some very high quality television shows, but they
Yes.
also every single time it feels like every week I log on Netflix, there's a new TV show that's just made.
Yeah.
And it's just like, is this even good? And there are definitely some Netflix shows that are not good.
Yeah, they
But
suck.
like, yeah, like, but it's just like they also like, how do I put this? Because that's not necessarily a bad strategy because once you have such a profound user base, you're going to have specific people that only are on there to watch specific things. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, you have people like that just subscribe to things like Netflix so they can watch comfort television like Parks and Rec or The Office, which aren't even on the streaming service anymore. Because like it's crazy how obviously entertainment is completely money driven, but it's crazy how important like ownership is with
Yeah.
entertainment.
This is another idea I've been thinking about, which is technology. Technology is a huge part of the entertainment industry, and they have those interactions where I was talking to my previous interviewee, Nick, and he talked about how he's half editor, half technician. Like he's pretty much like fixing his computer sometimes to make himself edit. So the reason why I always bring up video games, the reason why I always bring up all this tech stuff is because the way that we make movies is going to change. Like I always reference Quentin Tarantino and Scorsese and how they said like film has died, like it's not coming back and stuff like that. And in reality, it's changed. It's not that anymore. So I was really asked. What I want to ask is, what is the trajectory you see for film? Because if these technologies change, the way that you make films change, and the concepts and ideas of filmmaking change. Like if you're in VR, if you're in 3D, you're no longer thinking of, is this in frame? Is that in frame? There's no square. So I was wondering about that, because you probably are going to face that in 20 to 30 years. You are going to face working in these new mediums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I have some friends that went to Emerson just for 3D filmmaking too. And I've seen it firsthand, and it's definitely in its very early stages. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely has a long way to go just because it's so not user friendly. Like,
Yeah.
let's put it this way, you just have to invest so much time into learning the technology alone before even utilizing it. Like, and
Yeah.
actually make, like, so, like, anybody can pick up a camera and make something, but
Yeah.
not anybody can pick up a camera and make something good. Like, so
Damn. Quote
anybody can, but you know what I mean? Like,
that. Yeah.
anybody, but that's the thing about like 3D and VR. Not anybody can just pick it up and do something. Like you need
Yeah.
to learn the technology first before you do something. Like you get a camera and you can press record and make something. Is the
Mm.
white balance going to look good? No, it's probably going to look shitty. Like, is the color going to look good? Probably not. Like these little things, but like with VR and just like these technologies in general, like these people need to learn how to operate them first before they can even make anything. So
Yeah.
I feel like just like like I said, like technology is only going to evolve quicker and faster and just become more like high speed and better quality. But like, um, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I just feel like it's gonna be one of those things. As long as you're engaged in the scene actively, you're going to passively learn things.
Got it.
Um,
I didn't think
the
about it
only
that
thing,
way.
yeah, like the only way you're gonna learn things unless you take your own time to learn them on YouTube or something like that, which is pretty crazy in general. Like these days, you really don't need a film or television degree to learn things. You just need YouTube. You just need an internet connection. Like you can Google YouTube anything, and someone out there in the world will have made a video on how to do whatever specific thing it is. Sorry, I'm still here,
Okay.
right? Yeah, okay. Someone was calling me on my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's how I view it. Like the only way we like the industry as a whole is going to evolve its technology and get bigger and better is by using it. And I feel like just by me actively participating and having jobs in the industry, I will passively have no choice but to learn it.
Got it. So I wanted to ask. This is backtracking a bit, but a lot of people struggle with starting, like the
Mm,
starting process. Like I struggled with it for years. Like
mm,
I've been wanting to do this for all my life. Like do the YouTube thing, do the social media thing, and then I'm just doing it in like the last few months, and it took me like 22 years to like get
yeah.
started. So how would you describe your starting process, and what advice would you give other people to start?
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like anything else. Like you're not, and I know I've already said it so much. Like I feel like I'm just running laps at this point with what I'm saying. But like, you're never gonna know if you like something or not unless you do it. So
Mm-hmm.
you just have to do it. Like obviously, right when I first thought in my head, like, why don't I just go into like film and TV? Like it was a blasphemous idea. Like, okay, like how are you gonna do that? Like, and one of the biggest things I've also learned is, and this will save you a ton of time so you can just get more directly to what you want to do is like you like one of the most important things about getting to know other people or about
Mm-hmm.
broadening your network is you through talking to other people who have already had so much time in the industry is you get to learn from them like they you get to learn from the mistakes they made so you don't ever have to make them.
Got it.
So like I spent so much time. Uh, I know I talked about the LinkedIn thing and getting coffee. Like coffee, just getting coffee with someone can go such a long way because their advice can just speak on behalf of years of mistakes that you will not have to make.
Got it.
Um, so like I don't know. Like, what's my advice for someone to get into it? Well, I guess my biggest piece of advice for someone to get into it is to talk to people who are currently in it to see if it's something you want to
Wow.
pursue. Like,
Yeah.
people who are in the industry, or just no, just people in general, love to talk about themselves. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Like, people love to talk about themselves, whether it's what they're doing, where they're going, just their personal lives, their careers. People love to talk about themselves because that is the thing. That is the one thing that you know more about that nobody else will ever know more about is your personal life and what you've done to get to the point you're at. So that's the best piece of advice I can personally give is to just find somebody who is in a industry that, and it doesn't even have to be film. It could be anything. Find
Yeah.
someone who is in an industry that you want to pursue and just come with a list of questions that you have that you want to know answers to and just really pick people's brains so you can spend a lot more time progressing than wondering and like hindering yourself down based on things that you doubt or you're not sure of. Like the answers are out there. You just have to go and seek them and find them out yourself.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I was just thinking about it. This podcast is literally me going out and getting coffee with people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's great. Like seriously, like I think just like because there are so many. It's just like goes back to like being and sitting in school. Like okay,
Mm-hmm.
like no questions dumb. There's no stupid questions out there, and chances are like if you raise your hand and ask whatever questions on your mind, like someone else in the classroom is going to have that same question, but they just
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to ask it. Like there are so many people out there that are in your situation or are in my situation. Like, I want to go do this thing. But there are also simultaneously so many people who are just not willing to put in the effort to do the thing. So
Yeah.
like like effort, like if you just show effort, people will pick that up. And that's ultimately when you're breaking into anything, just having effort and having a good headspace are like two things that like not everybody has and are valuable. Like
Got it.
not everybody is going to have a good headspace. Hence, not everybody's going to want to work with specific people. Like as long as you're actively putting yourself out there, giving things your best effort and just like always keeping an open mind to new experiences, like you
Mm-hmm.
will get where you want to go in at least in the entertainment industry, you will get where you want to go.
Wow. That's really good advice. That's really, really good advice. So the last thing I want to end this on is I want to talk about your perspectives now going into PAing because I'm hoping to have you on again and then see what you think about it afterwards so we can compare the two. So what do you think
Yes.
it's going to be like?
All right. Well, I have a couple of friends who have been doing it for a couple of months now. And they say, I mean, really, it's like different every single set because it's not
Mm-hmm.
like, and that's one of the things that I find so compelling and so cool about the entertainment industry is every project you work on is so different. Unless you're working on something like a game show where you know what's going to happen, or
Yeah.
it's the same exoskeleton to every single show. Like when you're a production assistant, every single project you work on is with a completely different crew of people and it's for a completely different project. Now that is both a
Yeah.
good and a bad thing, right? So good thing is, holy shit, I'm constantly meeting new people. Like for someone who's an extrovert, that sounds great. For someone who's an introvert, that sounds like hell. Like, oh shit, you're telling me every weekend I have to like introduce myself to dozens of new people? That sounds like fucking hell. But then you can also view it as, wow, I'm getting this opportunity to meet dozens of people every single weekend. This is great. Like through putting yourself on sets like me, I'm just going to passively, without even thinking about it, make a resume and make a contact list for people who I'm just going to meet every weekend. And there are some people I'm going to put in that contact list who I'm going to fucking hate and be like, holy shit, this person sucks. Never work with this person again. But then there's going to be people who I meet. I'm going to be like, wow, this person's really cool. I'd love to get coffee with them, get to know them more. Like I wonder if they have any friends who are also looking for extra hands for sets in the future. Um, because that's how you're going to move up is by passively building a good reputation through hard work and having a good personality and having just a good mental, and then also by meeting people who will then spread your name through a grapevine and then get you work that way.
Yeah.
So what are my thoughts going into it? I think I'm going to work with a lot of shitty people who I don't like, but I also think that through those shitty people I will create experiences for myself that I will value in the long run because like I said earlier, you will only know what you want to do by knowing for sure what you don't want to do.
Okay.
Um, and I will only know these things as as I do them as time goes on. So I think there's going to be a lot of shitty sets that I work on, but I also think that there's going to be a lot of good sets that I work on. And in return, I will curate a list of people in my personal like portfolio that I trust that I will want to work with in the future. And then that will stir me towards a higher probability of working on things that I do genuinely enjoy. And it goes with anything. Like you got to start at the bottom. You got to see what the shit looks like, but you have to like, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And like
Yeah.
the only way I'm going to have, the ideal destination is if I have the journey where I see the ups and downs. And then eventually just, I will craft like a good end product. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, we're gonna end it on that note. Thank you for coming on once again, and wow, this has been really informative, really good stuff. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope it's actually been informative. I feel like I've been talking out of my ass.